Well, hi there, folks. Welcome back to Mossy Roots Farm. I want to do a little summer recap, if you will. I just want to kind of show a few little sections that I had here, what I did, what worked, what didn't work. This video, if the cows would stop screaming, they have plenty of grass. This video is more for me, so if you guys don't like it, that's okay. I want to kind of go over what I did, and then that way I can look at this video. I'm just taking out this bull thistle here. And then I know for next year, like, okay, that worked last year. Kind of like a grazing plan, a grazing calendar, except mine's in a video. So this section we're looking at here was one of the worst ones I had this spring. It was down to the dirt. It was terrible. I grazed it way too quickly, grazed it way too often. I did everything wrong last year. So this year, this spring, I kept with that thought of tearing it up, and then about a rotation or two in, I decided I needed to fix this. So I let it rest longer. I got more recovery time in here, and we got a lot of nice growth. Now, it doesn't look like it, but compared to the beginning, which I don't have a beginning of the year shot, this is a lot better, especially the further up the hill you go. So this one specifically, right behind the old barn there, this is the one where we put the round bales in last year, and I am going to put round bales in it again this year, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But this is what I mean. This looks great. Now, I'm debating still whether I want to graze this again this year, because it looks really nice right now. It's pretty close to the height of my boot. But if I graze it, how much starches, how many nutrient stores am I going to be losing this year? Am I going to hurt the regrowth in the spring? It's going to take longer. And what am I going to gain? Am I going to gain 1 day, 2 days of grazing? What is 1 or 2 days going to be in the springtime? You know, I would venture to guess that in the spring, every day, I get about a day's worth of grazing, it seems like, because stuff grows like wildfire in the spring. So that was that section. This section, like I said, is where the round bales go. And I did some interesting things with this. Part of this section I seeded by hand, and I seeded when the cows were still in here, so the cows stomped all of the seeds into the dirt. And you can see where I stopped seeding. I did not seed over here for a test run, and I seeded over here, and you can tell pretty much in a straight line, brown, green. I never once this year sectioned this fence off. They always had access to the full of this section if I gave them access to this section, and it did really good. A lot of folks said all this datra, which is this weedy stem here, that was killing my soils, but look, I have a boatload of grass in here this year, and it only is because of the datra. Yes, I seeded, but if this datra wasn't here, allowing this stuff to grow, allowing it to have shade, allowing it to flourish underneath of the datra, I don't think I would have had this much regrowth, and I don't think I would have had this much green grass right now that I'm going to be able to graze the cows in. Now, this section, I spoke a little bit about it in the previous video. This section was one of my best in the spring. 2 years ago, I left this in the fall, grow like wildfire, and did not touch it. Springtime, it was the best growth that I had in this section, or on the entire farm. Best growth in the spring. So, like I said with the first one, I was so focused on repairing and rebuilding other sections that this section kind of got away from me, and this section kind of got beat up a bit. You know, this should have been one of my better ones regardless, because I have all these trees for shade. I have those trees for shade. And it's a southern facing slope, so it should have grew the quickest because it was a southern facing slope. But it's actually the worst. I can still see dirt right here where my foot is. And it's been at least 45 days, maybe even 60 days since the cows were in here. It's just that bad. And again, complete mistake I made. And that's why I'm doing this video. Maybe to help others, maybe just to help myself, but regardless, that's what I'm doing. So like I say, this section is bad. I will not regraze this at all. This next section over, I'm definitely going to regraze, and I'll probably explain that in another video. The other sections on the farm, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to regraze that this fall. I want to leave it nice and long, because the longer you leave it, the more starches your plants can store and the better they grow in the spring. But that means you stop grazing earlier in the year and you got to start feeding hay earlier. So it's like, do I want better grass growth in the springtime, or do I want less hay usage this fall? So that's kind of a battle that I have to pick and choose. Another battle is I got to cut this tree off this fence, and I have yet to do that, and I keep making excuses and other things keep popping up, like I got to make chicken food today. So that's a little bit of a fall recap of this whole grazing season. Like I say, this is more for me to know what I did each year, because I can actually go back and look these videos up. I can comprehend what I'm seeing, and if I show videos of it, I have a visual reference as well, and maybe others can get a visual reference even if we don't have the same grass species, or if we don't have the same soil types, and if we don't have the exact same climates, you know. But anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.